Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's Terry J. Welcome to another episode of Commentary, and we are going to talk about the recruiting and Brian Kelly with the LSU Tigers, what we expect, how's it really going, and what can we think about the future. All right, let's get into it. All right, so as we all know, the 2021 season is done. It's a wrap. I mean, there's a bowl game, but we are already looking at the future of what Brian Kelly is going to do for the LSU Tigers. And to be honest, I mean, he's got 13, as of now, he's got 13 recruits. And the first thing what did I tell you when the last video I said of what to expect from Brian Kelly? What did I tell you he was going to go get? A quarterback. And what did he get? A quarterback. 5-star recruit out of Louisiana, which is important, and I'm going to talk about why that's important later. But Walker Howard, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And also, too, he's trying to shore up that offensive line. Offensive tackle Will Campbell, also out of Louisiana, 5-star recruit. So it's looking good. It's looking good so far. I mean, again, he's still in the SEC, according to 247sports.com. His recruiting right now is ranked 8th in the SEC and nationally ranked 18th. All right, we'll talk about that. And why I'm not too concerned about that. But right now his ship has some holes in it, and he's trying to plug them up. Basically, all right. We need to take care of some necessary situations before we start trying to swing for the fences and get these out of the ballpark people and try to get in a recruiting class like Alabama. So let's talk about this situation for a minute. And I saw this in the comments, and shout out to you guys who comment, because I do hit you guys back and I do take your feedback and all your thoughts. And one question was, or I thought of was, they said, Terry, you should make a video on why is it important for Brian Kelly to make a wall or a barrier around Louisiana and stop people like Nick Saban from poaching our great Louisiana players. And while I won't make a video about it, I will say that should be number one for Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly, one of the main things hitting the recruiting trail should be to lock down Louisiana. Why? Because Nick Saban, there's a reason why Nick Saban wishes he had went back to Louisiana. One, the recruiting, the talent that is in Louisiana is top notch. A lot of 5-stars come out of Louisiana, 4 stars, and the football is football rich in Louisiana. So if you are Brian Kelly, what you need to be doing for the next years, however long you're going to be with LSU, because we don't know, just because this contract says one thing, just like with Ed Orgeron, it could be totally different a couple years later. But I do think that he had a winning formula in Notre Dame, and I think he's going to bring that winning mentality to LSU. Now, again, it's very important that he gets what he feels is going to be his quarterback for the future. And I was on, and I feel like I should have kept it up. And I was looking at Bleacher Report, because you guys are hilarious. People who hop on. And while I look this up, I'm going to give a quick shout out to the men's LSU basketball team. If you are not paying attention to the men's LSU basketball team, they are absolutely doing their thing. All right. They are absolutely, if you haven't been able to catch a game, I got to see them play Georgia Tech here in the ATL, and they playing bully basketball, right? They are playing like they have everything to lose, and I love it. So if you haven't checked out the men's basketball and the women's basketball, they handling business. Coach Moki's doing her thing as well. So definitely Coach Wade, Coach Moki, shout out to them. Watch their basketball, because there's some great b-ball happening in LSU. We can't just say we're LSU football school. You know, we're on the rise, baby. So let's talk about this situation, some priorities. I know people were laughing because someone was supposed to be hitting the transfer portal, I should say, quarterback, Miles Brennan. Now, of course, Max Johnson said he's out. Peace. And we saw that his brother, the number 1 tight end, he decommitted from LSU. He was supposed to be going there, but he decommitted, and Max Johnson's hitting the portal. So it could be possible that Max Johnson might be following his brother and going to Texas A&M. It's been an interesting course of action ever since we lost Joe Burrow to the NFL. It's been a go, and it's hard to follow behind. Who wants to truly follow behind Joe Burrow? 2019 was a magical year. So if you're a quarterback, you're just thinking, man, I got all this pressure and hype, and from injuries to whatever the case may be, quarterback situation was a little bit of a struggle for the past 2 years. But I guess Miles Brennan said that he was going to hit the transfer portal, but let's be real. And I saw a lot of comments talking about, well, I guess since everybody else I have no competition, I have nothing to compete for, I'm back. Because he definitely canceled transferring out of LSU. And a lot of people said, well, this just shows what type of player he is. I mean, but I want you to be honest about this situation. If you're Miles and you're looking at, again, I bring back, you watch Ed Orgeron with Joe Burrow do his thing. And you see them holding up a trophy, one of the most dominant college football teams ever. And now that coach that you were supposed to be playing for, he's gone. You don't know how the program is going to be. And I'm sure talks all throughout the team is who's going to be transferring, who's out, who's uncomfortable, because why they came to play with Ed Orgeron. So it was definitely a great move for LSU to quickly get a hire and get someone like Brian Kelly, who's going to hit the trail running. Right. And then at least Brian Kelly gives you a fighting chance versus someone you had no idea who can come over, take over the program, and then we be in limbo for the next few years. Because I guarantee you don't want to be in limbo while Nick Saban is still coaching, because you want to at least feel like you have a shot. You don't want to be dominated every time teams like Alabama or Ole Miss are coming to town or you're going to their place. You don't want to feel like, I'm going to support my Tigers, but I'm expecting the L. You don't know. There's a certain level of excellency when you see purple and gold take the field, and you want to see that carried on from coach to coach. And again, in my previous video, yes, Nick Saban started that winning era ways that we've had for the past almost 2 decades now. But as we look at this situation again, his recruiting class is what it is. If you were expecting Brian Kelly to just have the number one recruiting class, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. It's ignorant to think that. I don't give a care if you're mad at me. Hit me up in those comments. But what he is doing is shoring up the offensive line. Again, he's getting some big boys. I like looking at it. He had Jones coming out of Baton Rouge. He's looking like he's going to be a beast. And again, these kids, I'm talking 6'5", and then he's got defensive tackles. I mean, it's all over the place. Cornerback out of Lafayette, Laterris Welsh. It's going to be interesting how these players develop under Brian Kelly. But again, just looking at what we got going on there, and yes, there were some signees. I'm interested to see what we're going to do at running back, because as we know in the SEC, throwing means nothing if you can't run the ball, because defense will be there. Defense will show up. I don't care what SEC school, unless you're Vanderbilt. Can't even say Kentucky now. Kentucky plays football. Maybe Missouri. But, those schools. And the Gamecocks are trying to get it together, too. I don't know what South Carolina's doing. But, for the most part, SEC brings defense at least. And you never know. Any given Saturday, any team could bring it. So, I mean, right now, I'm looking at Brian Kelly, and I'm like, okay, where are we going to go? Because honestly, and I told you year 2 is going to be it for Brian Kelly. Year 2 is going to be the litmus test for Brian Kelly, because we're going to see how he plays his offense, how he plays his defense in year 1 under Brian Kelly. And if it's successful, we are definitely going to see more recruits and hopefully some in-state talent stay in Louisiana and play for those Tigers, for those Bayou Bengals. And that's what I'm expecting. That's what I want to see. Trey Palmer, looking at my phone right now, it said he's entering the transfer portal. And again, I say it like this: you went to go play for a certain coach, and a couple coaches like Kevin Falk are leaving the program. And so your loyalty was to those people who went and recruited you. So I can't be upset with certain players being like, I want different for myself. But I want to see, this is Brian Kelly's time. And he did a damn good job with Notre Dame and the recruiting that he did there to make that team happen, because his team was successful. Again, I think the second most winningest coach in Notre Dame history, or is it all time? I don't know. I think it's second. Don't quote me. I didn't look up those facts this time. He's winning. He's up there. So I expect him to carry that same tradition over to LSU. So right now, I mean, I'm not giving him a grading scale. The grading scale comes next year. All right. After, well, let's see what he does with the players that remain that don't hit the transfer portal and the people that he's bringing in now. I think he's gearing up to get the team that he wants to put out in the field. And again, he has different talent to play with now. He has different players to put out on this field. No shot and no diss to Notre Dame, but when you get to recruit in the Southeast, you're doing something. You're putting together a different type of team with a different type of mentality. And again, when you put on purple and gold, it's different expectations. So what are your thoughts so far in the recruiting race with Brian Kelly? Because I'm not going to lie to you, Alabama is looking damn scary again. But again, Nick Saban's been there for how long? His tenure, it is what it is. So again, if you're expecting some big splash to happen because Brian Kelly has been announced as the LSU's head football coach, you're kidding yourself. Maybe next year when they get to see where the program is headed and they get to see a full year of Brian Kelly. So just give it some time. I'm going to say give it some time. But right now, I like what he's doing. Offensive line, protect the quarterback. Because why? Once Walker Howard does get to play, or whoever the quarterback is, they're going to need some time behind the pocket because I'm sure Brian Kelly has whatever type of offense he wants to implement. It's going to take some time and some getting used to. So you're going to need some big boys to help protect that quarterback to give him some time to figure some things out. So what do you want to see with Brian Kelly? Where do you feel like he missed the ball at? Where do you feel like he could have done better recruiting? Or who would you like to see? You know, I don't know. Do you think he's doing a good job? Do you think he needs to hit heavier in certain positions than others? What are your thoughts? Hit me up in those comments. I would love to know your thoughts because I'm gonna hit you back. And as always, this is not just my show. This is your show as well. I want you to grow with me. All right. So I love that you guys are telling me different things on how to elevate the show because guess what? We're gonna make it bigger and better, baby. So again, as always, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe and tell a friend about the show. Please share it. Again, until next time, be blessed and peace.